Good evening, school board. This is a quick tour of a report found on J.E.B. Stuart Facts. It's from Subcommittee 2. It looks at what happened to J.E.B. Stuart before the name change, during the name change, and predicts what will happen after. In this report, we start with a national footprint about what's happening around the country with name change, and we look at the psychology and the predictions both before and after name change. Group isolation, loss of identity. We talk about Zimbardo, Phil Zimbardo. He specifically looks at students absorbing a past negative mindset and predicts that they would be more depressed, less friendly, and have higher tempers, amongst other issues. Nationally, we look at all the issues amongst other schools. There's hundreds of schools going through name change right now. Here's one, for instance, on the left, where there's been a death threat just a few weeks ago against students leading a name change. Something we needed to be aware of and should be on the lookout for, and something the committee did not cover, and it should have. We go through the messaging, what had happened, some of the visceral messages, for instance, this one here, talking about how the students react to being called Hitler High School. And more specifically, though, we go down into what's happening at J.E.B. Stuart, and this is where we start identity formation. Just a couple years ago, you can see the yearbook, 32 very clear identity messages about J.E.B. Stuart in the name and graphic design, whereas a couple years later, there's only 3 background images of J.E.B. Stuart. You can see that there's been a drop-off in group cohesiveness and identity. This is a look at Washington Lee High School, how they promote coping mechanisms and positive signaling through the way they handle General Lee around the school. More specifically here, you can start to see how behaviors have shifted before and after name change. Here, alcohol, tobacco, and drug offenses jumped 170%, about a 40-something% jump here in disorderly and disruptive behavior, and that was predicted. Fitness, looking at incoming 9th graders, walking into a name change situation, a loss of sleep. The cardio fitness scores are 16 points below county average, having dropped significantly before and after the name change campaign attack against the name. And then we get into the differences. J.E.B. Stuart had the county's lowest Virginia history scores, and after the name change, their scores went lower, while their world history scores went up. That tells us something about what's happening with the teaching of Virginia history. We did a sampling of the social science and history composites and see that parallel to Lee, that J.E.B. Stuart went down, whereas Lee went up. And specifically, though, the white students and black students, the year after name change split. The white students went up, the black students went down. And then, of course, absences were at Lee. You have a year-over-year decline in black students. We looked at them as a group which could be absorbing the messaging. And then you look at the differences here, before and then after, in absences and dropout rates. Thank you for taking a look. We encourage you to look at this report.